Hi everyone, welcome back to the second session on Python targeting agentic AI. Okay, now in our first session, we understood or we looked at different data types, mainly string, then float, integer, and Boolean. Okay, apart from that, we also saw how lists work. And today we will do, we will combine. The steps or combining the learnings that we had or we did in our previous session, and then we will implement it in a real-time scenario. Okay, let me comment out everything. Okay. Now, the very first step that we'll do is first we will define the agent's identity and states. Okay. So, for example, I'm creating something called as agent underscore role. Okay. This is the variable I'm defining. So, which is basically a financial analyst bot. Okay. Now, after defining the first variable, we will create another variable, a Boolean one. So is ready, and then we'll define true. Okay. And then the next step is we'll create a list that will be used to define the agent's memory plan. Okay. So action plan. Okay, in this we will create something like we'll create items. So receive user query, then required tools, required tools, and then yeah, and then just execute the search. Okay, so basically, like if you take a look at and look at the action plan of any agent or most of the agents, so this is what it does at a high level. Okay, so receive user query, identify the required tools, and then it executes the search. Okay, next. Um, Next, basically, we will use or we will announce the start. Okay, we'll define like let's start. Okay, so I'll use print, and we will use the f string f agent role, the variable that we have created, and then initializing. Okay, we'll print something like this. Okay, like a message. Yes, the agent is initializing just for the end users, so that they look into this. Okay. Next, we will print another message, format. Okay, and this is the message that it will print. Okay, next message. Okay, now next is we will define, or the agent will take an action, right? Agent, so basically it will take an action and update its memory. Okay, so I'll use print action one, action plan, first item. Okay. Yes. Okay, so now this is the action plan which will action one, so which will basically I mean update its memory. Then the agent will append a new step after execution. Okay, so for that we have to use action dot append. Generate final response. Okay, sorry. Action plan and generate final response. And finally, we'll just print \n. Okay, so this is just for coming to the next line. Okay, updated action plan. Okay, so this is the very first agent that we have built. Very simple, doesn't involve any AI activity, just a simple updations. Okay, now once done, so let me save it. Okay, so now since I've used the same file, so I'll execute the same file. EAAIC1. Okay, yeah. Now, so you see, status ready to work, true. Action, I mean, from the beginning, financial analyst bot initiating. Status ready to work, so status true. And action, receive user query, updated plan, receive user query, identify required tools, execute search, and then final response plan. Okay, so combining all the information or all the knowledge that we have gained, so this is a very simple and um, specific agent that we've created, which will just update something to one existing list. Got it? Now, next we will look into some other data types. Okay, so now if I comment out, okay, if I comment out these sections, now let's uh, look at some other data types. Okay, now we will take a look at dictionaries, which is very important for API communications. Then control flow, basically for decision making, and then functions. It can be used for creating reusable tools. Okay, now let's talk about dictionaries first. Okay, now dictionary is basically the agent's communication language. You can call it that way. So dictionaries are arguably the most important data structure for agentic AI because they map directly JSON, which is JavaScript object notation, the universal format for API communication. And then it is also like, I mean, when it comes to like each and every message sent to or received from an LLM, okay, like an OpenAI or something, is basically kind of a dictionary. Okay. Now, if you take a look at the structure and role of dictionary, so by definition, you can call it like an unordered collection of key value pairs. So collection basically, like if you are using, I'm just deviating from the topic. So if you're using a lot of low code tools, so basically collections are you'll be a lot familiar with collection. Okay, so if we talk about JSON format, so these all are collections. Okay, so that is like now what all data types comes under collection. So dictionary, set, tuple, and list. So these all as the name suggests, they come under collections. These are together called as collections. Okay, and by the name you can understand like why it's called collection, because these include collection of items. Okay, now um, Now, with AI context, if you want to understand the role of, I mean, coming back to dictionary, with AI context, if we try to understand what is the role of dictionaries. So basically, dictionaries are used to define a single rich piece of data, such as, a single message, a turn, or a API response, or maybe a tool configuration. Okay. Now, just to give you an example, so we can use a single message object sent to any API, or particularly LLM API. Okay. So now, if I want to do that, so I'll define a variable message. Okay. And then this is how basically I define a dictionary. Okay. Now I'll create key and value. So first is called key and second one is called value. So my first key will be role, and the value that I'm assigning is, okay. So the value and key doesn't have to be the same data type. It can be of multiple data types as well. Okay. So I'll show it to you. So first is string. Okay. So first value is basically a string. Now next I'll create another value, another key, content. Okay. And I'll pass in the value something like you are a financial analyst. Okay. Now, next, yeah, and this is how basically we can segregate them. I mean, we can come to multiple key value pairs. Okay. So, key value, comma, and then depends on how many key values you are providing, you provide. So in, I would not say in, I mean, this is just like a table. It's kind of a table. Okay. So where role being the header of the table, and system being the value within the table. But each row is like having each dictionary. So if I want to create multiple rows, so there are multiple ways of doing it. I can create nested dictionaries. There are multiple approaches of doing it. Okay. So for now, I mean, I'm keeping it simple. So as we go along, we might look into complex scenarios. Okay. So the third one is a token. I'll pass. So token count maybe. Then I'll use 50. Okay. So this token count has integer value. Okay. Now this is my variable that I've created, which is a dictionary. And then if I want to print the type, so print type of message. Okay. Now if I go ahead and execute, so yeah, the class is dictionary. Okay. Now next, if I want to access, okay, data by key, okay, from a dictionary, like, looking up a word in a physical dictionary, so I can also do that. Okay. So I can use print message. Now I have to pass within quotes role. Okay. So now if I go ahead, uh, save it and execute. Okay. System role. Okay. Now I will change something. I will understand the data type. Okay. Role system. No, let's go to the next step. Then we will come back. Okay. Now, so if I want to include dictionaries within a list, okay, I can even do that. Now, for example, if I have something like this, history. Okay, I want to maintain a conversation history. Okay, I can do that. Okay, I'll create a list, and within that list, I can maintain my dictionary, or I can bring in my dictionary. Like for example, so I can bring in message, okay, as one item, and then the second item, okay, I can bring in something like this. Sorry, user, and then um, Apple stock. Okay, so these are the um, two values that or two items that I'm passing. Okay, and then I can close it, and so okay, I no that's good. So now basically, if I go ahead and uh, if I want to print out the conversation history, I can also do that. Okay, so this is how I can print out the conversation history. So I mean, this is for the first print, and for the second print, this is the dictionary, and then the second dictionary that I have created. Now, next, if I want to create or access nested data, so I can also do that. So from the AI context, basically, when an agent gets a complex response from a tool, example like stock data API, it must navigate nested dictionary to find the specific value it needs. Okay, so let me first comment this section. Okay, so for example, if I'm creating a variable, so API response, okay, and then I can I can add something like status status suppose success, okay, and then data. Okay, now in the value for the key data, I can even pass another dictionary. Okay, so like for example, so this particular way of arranging or getting the value is called, or getting specific value is called nested, is called nested data. Okay, now if I want to get that information, so or get that data, so I can use price, and then currency. Okay. Okay, so now we have for data we have price and currency. Okay, now if I want to access, okay, the nested data, we can use chain the key lookups. Okay, now or we have to chain the key lookups. So let me show you how it's done. So for example, I want to check stock price. Okay, stock price, and from the API response, which is again nested dictionary. So I will use the variable name first, Then I will use the key. Okay. And after that, I'll use in this particular key. Again, there are two keys, right? Within this particular value. So again, there are two keys. So I will use another key. So which is price. Okay. API response data, and price. Okay. Now we've created this variable, and then we have to just go ahead and print this variable. So to print this variable, again, print. So format current price. So I want the values um, in dollars. So dollar stock price. Okay, and that's it. So now if we go ahead, clear and execute. So yeah, the current price is $175.5. Okay. Now, next, let's take a look at uh, control flow. So, what is control flow? So, control flow is basically the agent's decision engine. Okay. So, control flow determines the order in which the code runs. This is it also executes the logic that we provide, and it also teaches the agent to make simple logical decisions like should I search the web, or should I run the calculator, or should I execute this particular function. So sorry. So this is where this is how the control flow works. Okay. Now so before we begin the control flow, so let me now. So normally the control flow we use if, elif, and the else statements. Okay. Now, so it also helps us to execute different blocks of code on a condition, like whether true or false. And with AI context, this is also used for tool routing, deciding which tool is appropriate for the user's queries. Okay. Now, just to give an example, like for example, if I give user this user query could be anything. Okay, but I'll show you like how it works. Okay, user query, I mean, when we use functions, then I can show you like how to make a variable or pass a dynamic value in the variable and then run it through a control flow. But for now, we will keep it static. Okay. Sorry. What is 5 plus 7? Okay, suppose this is a user query. Okay, and let's use control flow to execute this. Okay, okay. So I'll use if plus in user query. Okay, dot lower. So basically, this will convert this to a lowercase in case the user has used uppercase or any other format. I mean, especially uppercase. So I'll convert everything in lowercase. I mean, it will try to identify or understand this in lowercase, or so minus in user query dot lower. Okay, so this is the condition. So if condition, then okay, sorry. So you have to end using a colon, and you have to write the condition print execute the calculator. Okay. Okay. And if the condition doesn't satisfy, okay, if the condition doesn't satisfy, so we'll use elif. Again, we'll provide the condition. What is user query? Again, dot lower. This is the condition. Then print web search tool. Okay. Now we'll go to the other condition. I mean, if none of these satisfied, then else, the final else print respond directly using LLM. Okay. Okay. Now, so yeah, so this is how we can build. Okay. Now, let me save it and execute. Okay. Since it is satisfying, so the first condition we have plus. That's why it's showing decision. Execute the calculator. Okay. Now, what we have to do for this particular loop, we have just use a print. We are just printing, but yes, we can even include other functions. Like if you have created functions to execute something, we can do all those things. Okay. Now, yeah, so basically how this works. So if provide the condition, and then what is the output? Elif provide the condition, what is the output? Else you can provide. So in case you don't have an elif, so you can directly use if and else. Okay. Now, so yeah, let's move to the next topic. Okay. Now, so functions. Let's talk about functions. So in agentic AI, what is a function? So basically, a function can be called, it's a very effective tool, especially when it comes to agentic AI, where it helps us in creating a reusable block of code that the agent can call or execute to perform a specific action in the real world. Okay, like for example, searching a database or calculating a value. Okay, so normally functions starts with the word def, and these takes input arguments. For example, like it may or may not take input arguments, and it normally it always has an output. Okay. So a function basically processes, if you are providing input arguments, it processes them and then returns an output. So the returning an output is always linked with the function, but yes, sometimes or sometimes not, they may or may not include an argument. Okay. Now, with the AI context, the entire goal of an agent framework is to make the LLM I mean, uh, accurately select the call, the Python functions you define. Okay. Now, so basically, when we are talking about, especially when we are talking about AI agents, so let me show you how we can do. You give you an example. Okay, so I'll create a function. So I'll start with def, and I'll name the function as search web. Okay, and I'll pass a variable topic. Okay, so when we are creating functions, so we can pass one variable, or else we can also pass multiple variables as well. Okay, and the variable text that we are creating doesn't have to be passed using quotations within a particular function. Okay. Now, yeah, so this is how basically we are creating. So this is the syntax. So first, the keyword def, then the name of the function, and then the arguments. Either one argument, if you have multiple argument, you can pass in multiple arguments like X, Y, Z or something. Okay, you can create as many arguments as you want. Okay. Now, then we have to end it with the colon. Okay, and then we can use something like print. Just for topic. Okay, so whatever topic we are passing, so it will just print out that particular line, okay, as our first output. Okay, now just to make it appear like yes, it's searching for something, so we will add something like this, and then we can also use return. Okay, so return basically will generate a value, and if we want to use that value or not, so that is also like depends. Like if I want to just print it out, then fine, but it will return a value. Okay, return f, I mean using f, then I can use, so okay, got it. Now next is calling a function. So we've created the function, but if I just go ahead and execute, okay, I'll not get anything, because defining or creating the function is not enough. We have to also call the function. Okay, now to call a function, so yeah, this is how we can call it. So basically, um, so I'll create a variable where I will use that particular variable as a value within within that function. Okay, so for example, I'll create topic to search frameworks. Okay, so this is the variable that we have created. Next, result. Okay, I'll use the function, so which is search web. Okay, and in this I will pass on the value, which is topic to search. Okay, I can also pass the value using something like this. Topic is equal to topic to search, but it's not needed. But if you're having multiple values and you don't want to give it in a particular order, then you can use equal to, otherwise this is enough. Okay, or if you are providing the value in a certain order, the way you have defined it, defined the arguments within your function, that is okay. Or else if you don't want to maintain any order, so you have to use that the argument name equal to whatever value you are passing. Okay, search, this is my result, and then I'll just go ahead and print result. Okay, so print result. So that's it. So now when I save it, sorry, and execute. So this is what we get. So agent, since my variable value was agentic AI frameworks, so this is what my uh, function is returning. Similarly, I can return as many times as I need the same function. Okay, so I will return. So I'll create another variable. I'll call it like different cars in India. Okay, again, I'm printing it out. So now if I save it, so I'll get two prints. One for agentic AI frameworks, and second is different cars in India. Okay, so first is agentic AI frameworks, and the second one is different cars in India. So the basic advantage of using a function is we create this reusable component. So now basically, if I want to print something in a certain format, I don't have to go back and every time create the code. So imagine like if you have like 20 lines of code, and then you have to pass the parameter. I don't have to keep writing the code 20 times. I just create a function one, define at the start, and then just call the function as many times as I want. Okay. Okay. So with this, we will end today's session. Thank you everyone for joining. Keep watching for more videos.